So imagine, if you will, Robinson Crusoe, stuck on an island and faced with accomplishing the most mundane of tasks, such as not starving to death. So say in the course of not starving to death, he finds that he can catch fish with his bare hands, but it's pretty inefficient and he can only do so at the rate of one every 4 hours. It occurs to him that if he were to take a day off and create a net, he would be able to vastly increase his efficiency. And so it was. He was able to catch a fish, say, every 5 minutes. This was much more efficient, and he was able to accomplish the task in much less time, and that freed him up to be able to create a hut or a fire or what have you. That's how important efficiency is. So, welcome everyone. This is the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition Power Gamers Tactics Room. I'm your host, Bill Braun Bafflestone, and this is the 5th installment of my 7-part series on what I call the 7 tactical aspects of combat, which, to remind you, are 1. Terms of engagement, 2. Maneuverability, 3. Environment, 4. Resource management, 5. Efficiency, 6. Offense, and 7. Defense. Today, I wanted to talk about efficiency. So generally speaking, efficiency is creating the maximum effect for the minimum input over the minimum time. How does this apply to Dungeons & Dragons? Well, I break efficiency down into 3 further categories: action economy, opportunity cost, and party construction. So in terms of action economy, every round, every character has a range of actions that they can take. You have an action, you have a bonus action, you have a summon action, you have a reaction, and you have a move. So actions, of course, are, something that everybody has. Everybody's going to do their thing. I will talk more about actions in the episodes coming up on offense and defense. But here I will simply say that any action that creates offense is good, and any action that creates defense is good. But an action that creates both offense and defense at the same time is the best. So generally, I'm going to give more weight to an action like Summon Creature, which is going to provide attacks for offense and going to divert attacks for defense, as opposed to something like a Fireball, which creates only offense, or a Blink that is going to create only defense. The next action that we have is a bonus action. So there are not that many. You can get cool bonus actions through class abilities, like the Rogue has Cunning Action, for example, or you can take one of a range of spells that take a bonus action to cast. There's not that many, but there are some good ones out there. Misty Step, Dragon's Breath, Sanctuary, Healing Word. You can direct Tiny Servants with your bonus action. Whatever bonus actions you do choose out of the limited options, you must have some. Okay, this is for power gamers. If you don't have bonus actions, look, if you're a flavor character, you can do whatever you want. But power gamers are going to have good, strong options for their bonus actions. Similarly, you get a summon action. Now, of course, not every character gets a summon action. I call those flavor characters. As a power gamer, you are going to need to have a summon action because they act independently and can greatly magnify the impact that you have on the field in one round. So you are going to want to have really good summon options like a familiar, like persistent summons such as Tiny Servants or Animate Dead, or even on the fly summons like summoning or conjuration spells. Regardless of how you get them, you are going to want to have some summons to help you out. Even a familiar can apply the help action every round, can apply good berries or potions or antitoxin to you every round, can, aid you in certain tasks. So you are going to want to take advantage of summon actions. You have a reaction, which everyone has available opportunity attacks. But power gamers are going to have some really cool reaction abilities available. Of course, the premier reactions are Shield and Absorb Elements, but there are a lot of cool ones that you can get, like Instinctive Charm, or Project Arcane Ward, or warding flare. There's a lot. Make sure as a power gamer that you have one. And then finally, we have movement, a move action. I already talked about movement quite a bit in my previous episodes on maneuverability and on environment, so I'm not going to beat a dead horse. But to reiterate, as a power gamer, you should have superior movement, and you should be using it to determine the range and to take advantage of cover. So those are the actions that every character has available. As a power gamer, you need to have powerful options for each and every one of them. The next aspect of efficiency is opportunity cost. So in a vacuum, every spell is good because you're comparing it to doing nothing. But in reality, you have to compare the effects of an action to the effects of an alternative action that you could have taken if you didn't do what you actually did. That's called the opportunity cost. And you want to make sure that you are taking advantage of it. In Dungeons & Dragons, there are basically 4 aspects to opportunity costs: renewability, impact, area of effect, and duration. So these are all moving parts. They are going to interact differently, so you're going to have to exercise some judgment as to what spells offer the least opportunity costs. But generally speaking, a totally renewable resource is preferable to a non-renewable resource because it comes with no opportunity cost in terms of future actions, whereas using a resource that is non-renewable prevents you from using it again in the future. So if I have the option of using Minor Illusion over Silent Image, I'm going to choose the Minor Illusion. So renewability really matters when it comes to determining opportunity cost. Then you need to consider the impact of the action that you're going to take. It needs to be powerful enough to affect the objective that you're trying to reach. And ultimately, it needs to be a net positive. It needs to help you in some way. This, for example, is why I don't like Counterspell as much as a lot of people do. Many people consider this a must-have. I don't really like it that much. Of course, everyone can think of instances in which Counterspell saves the day and it, prevents the use of a completely debilitating spell. But the fact is, there are very few completely debilitating spells in 5th edition, and you don't know what you're counterspelling. So it could be that you are just counterspelling a magic missile that was just going to do a little bit of damage that you could heal the next round by your familiar applying a potion of healing or a Goodberry. It could be an attack that will miss you because you have a high armor class. It could be an attack that you are going to save against because you have great saves. So you, in using Counterspell, are investing a 3rd level spell and your reaction to potentially counterspell a Ray of Enfeeblement or something that is going to have ultimately no impact on the battle. That is a low impact use of the spell, and consequently, I don't really like Counterspell, precisely because you can't cherry pick which spells you choose to counterspell with it. The next aspect of opportunity cost is the area of effect. This one's pretty simple. A spell that affects multiple creatures is better than a spell that affects one, and the more creatures, the better. So the greater the area of the effect, the more, impact that it's going to have, and therefore the opportunity cost of using an ability is much lower if you have a higher area of effect relative to attacking a single creature. And then finally, there is duration, which again is pretty self-explanatory. A spell that lasts a long time is going to be better than a spell that doesn't. So a spell that lasts for 8 hours is better than a spell that lasts for 1 hour, which is better than a spell that lasts for 1 minute, which is better than a spell that goes off instantaneously. So I am going to value a spell like Animate Dead, which has a 24-hour duration, or a Tiny Servants, which has an 8-hour duration, or Summon Aberrant Spirit, which has a 1-hour duration, over a spell like Fireball, which takes effect instantaneously. So those are the four aspects of opportunity cost that you need to keep in mind. Again, they all play out differently depending on the action that you're going to take. But what you're trying to do is lower the opportunity costs as much as possible. The final aspect of efficiency is party construction. And this is just a realization that this is a team game and that you're not actually out there doing it all yourself, and that you need to take your party's abilities and capabilities into account when you're, evaluating what action to take. So, for example, I love Sleet Storm. I almost always lead with it. The Obscurement is very helpful, and it's a very powerful spell. But recently, my party was joined by an Oath of Conquest Paladin. They have a range of abilities tied to fear. Fear requires line of sight. So, as such, I'm no longer going to be leading with Sleet Storm in most cases. I'll keep it in my back pocket in case I feel like I need it. But as a concession to the abilities of my colleague, I'm going to probably start using a summon or some other concentration spell that doesn't require obscurement. Again, the way the party is constructed really makes a difference. Do they have alert? How many tanks do you have? This is all going to change the evaluation of actions that you can take at any given time. But that is it. That is my evaluation of efficiency in Dungeons and Dragons. Thanks for watching. Please tune in next time when I talk about the 6th and 7th tactical aspects of combat, offense and defense. This has been the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition Power Gamers Tactics Room. I'm your host, Bill Braun Bafflestone. See you next time.